Hi cuties, I'm back. It's good to see you again. Hello to all the new subscribers. I see you guys. All right, well, let me get into today's video. So today we're gonna talk about 10 eyeshadow palettes that I feel like brands should bring back for good. These are some of my personal favorites and they come from a wide array of years in makeup past, whether very in the past or somewhat in the recent past, but these are some of my favorites and I feel like brands should bring them back because they would add very well to the overall collections. I feel like these are OG palettes that really deserve, in some cases, a lot more love than they got when they were released, or I feel like they deserve a lot of love now and they would still be something unique to bring to the table even today in this overblown, crazy excessive makeup market that we have. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Before we get into all these amazing palettes, I want to let you know this is going to be in no particular order. I'm not ranking them in like least or worst or anything like that. We're just going to have some fun and talk about some palettes that need to make a really big comeback. So the first palette that I feel like needs to come back, and this is going to be very important, I feel like, for this brand's relevancy, is the Tarte Pineapple palette. So this was a holiday release, I think in 2018 going to 2019. This palette is so good. A lot of people crapped on it. They said it was too big, too bulky, but it's actually not. As you can see, it's probably the thickness of a NYX palette. Yes, this part does kind of stick out right here, but not too much. It's not that big or bulky, I mean, compared to my hand. And also, the colors in here are awesome. You have some face shades, which are actually really nice. However, they're not gonna fit a lot of skin tones in particular. I feel like light to maybe medium fair skin tones are gonna benefit a lot from this side of the palette. But we're not here to talk about that, honey. We're here to talk about these eyeshadows because I feel like these eyeshadows are some of the best Tarte has done in a really long time. And this was such a highly criticized palette, I feel like, for the wrong reasons. A lot of brands for years now have been coming out with gimmicky palettes, so why shouldn't Tarte jump on board like everybody else? It's the trendy thing to do. And in makeup, just like in fashion and in movies and in music, if a trend sells and is popular, all brands are gonna do it. So I feel like Tarte got a lot of undeserved hate for this product in particular, but the formula of these is great. It reminds me a lot of the formula in the little small Tarte lip palettes. They have a light, very creamy kind of vanilla-y scent, but it's not too strong or anything, not anything overpowering that's gonna interfere with your nose or your sense of scent throughout the day. You have a great array of finishes. You have mattes, you have shimmers, you have a wide array of tones as well. You have your warm tones, your cool tones, you have purples, you have blues, you have a really nice shade of black, really nice transition colors. I mean, this is pretty much everything you could want or need. And if Tarte were to bring this palette back, which I think they should, I feel like they should just remove the face shades on the first side and maybe make the palette just a little bit thinner for those people who complained a lot about it. But just take these shades out, put a big mirror right here, and put all these colors out again. This is a really great palette, and I feel like an amazing gift for anybody who's starting out in makeup and needs their first set of eyeshadows to work with, because these are super easy to work with. They blend like a dream. Again, you have really nice color selection. I cannot rave enough about this palette. They need to bring it back permanently. All right, so the next palette that I have is something from way back in the day, and I think any old school makeup lover is gonna remember this and probably remember it fondly. But that is the Too Faced Matte Eye palette. I'm talking about the original matte eye and the cardboard packaging. This palette is great. If you love neutrals, if you love cool tone neutrals, oh my god. I don't think the camera shows well enough, but I've beat this palette to death. It's awesome. It blends so well. I feel like this formula in their mattes might be a little bit better, if not just as good as their current formula, but the selection of shades that you have to work with, it's a really great starter and essential palette. And Too Faced has a lot of very gimmicky palettes nowadays. They don't have anything that I feel like is essential or that you're like, yes, I need that. It's gonna go great in my makeup kit, great in my makeup bag. And I feel like that really, really hurts them. And if they were to bring back something like this is gonna be amazing. I know a lot of people really enjoy the Natural Lust palettes, which I think those are okay. They have a lot of shades, in my opinion, that repeat. Some people might think about the Chocolate Bar palette, but even that one, I don't think of it as that iconic. Something like this that literally anybody can use at any point in time, and they can use that in their kit or in their everyday life, I feel like will be better for them overall. They had a lot of really good palettes, I feel like, back in the old school cardboard packaging that had great color schemes and a lot of great shades to work with. The one thing I will criticize about this palette though, if they were to bring it back, I want Too Faced to change these awkward pans right here. I know they assume these are going to be the colors that you're using the most, but clearly I only use this one and this one the most, and Chinchilla. They should all be equal size. Point blank period. This is still a little weird, so if they were to bring it back, I would like for them to remove the weird size pans, make these a little bit bigger, and maybe give them the ability for us to easily pop them out and insert into a magnetic palette or wherever we want, or even just sell them as a set of singles. But this color scheme right here, Too Faced, you need this. We need to step away from the warm browns. We need to step away from the tacky shimmers. We need more basic, nice, easy stuff to work with, and this is one of them. This is such an iconic palette, and it really makes me sad that this is not around still, so it needs to come back. I'm very sorry for the crazy lighting, but I wanted to use the natural light that we had out today, but I guess it's leaving us, isn't it? Oh my god, I think I'm definitely gonna need a regular light. Fuck. Sorry about the lighting change, you guys, but this natural lighting thing, again, was not working out, so we have to bring in some actual lights in here. All right, moving on to the next palette I want a brand to bring back, and that is the Chasing Rainbows palette by ColourPop. I love this palette. It's so pretty. The colors are so nice. The pigmentation is wonderful. You have a good array of different shades. You have some pink and some purplies. You have some peachy neutrals. You have some browns, silver. You got a little bit of blue. It's a really well put together palette, and this came out, I want to say, a couple of months before the ABH Riviera palette. And when that palette came out, I was like, why do I need it? This is just like the Chasing Rainbows palette. I really wish ColourPop would bring this back. I know they're always churning out the next palette. Let's get on the next trend. Let's do this, 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 and this. But they don't focus on those essential palettes. And I feel like this is one of them. It's a really great colorful palette for people that want to try some color, but not go too crazy with it. Again, the array of shades is beautiful. All these colors work so well together. I absolutely adore this palette. And when I found out that this was discontinued, I was so disappointed because again, it's lovely. You can get so many looks, and I feel like this is what the ABH Riviera palette maybe wanted to be, but wasn't, and I still to this day would take this any point in time over the Riviera. It's very small and compact. I've used it a ton of times. Again, the colors are beautiful. ColourPop, you need to stop coming out with all these palettes that we're gonna forget about in a couple of months and bring back something like this, which I feel like should be a staple and a permanent one at that in their eyeshadow collection. Cannot rave enough about this wonderful palette. Does anybody remember a point in time when Urban Decay used to actually make fun and exciting eyeshadow palettes? They used to be like the cool kid in the makeup world, and then slowly, like shortly after the first Naked palette, it was just like boring, boring, naked, naked. Let's just be the most neutral, basic brand out here. And I miss the days when they used to have fun with their products. And this in particular right here reminds me of those good old days. And that is the Mariposa palette, and I love this one. I believe this came out in some point in 2012. I got this in 2013, I believe, shortly before it was discontinued. But this is a lovely palette. I don't know if you can see the packaging, but it's metal. It's really nice. It's very small and sleek. It has this beautiful embossed butterfly right here and the Urban Decay logo. And inside you have these gorgeous metallic and shimmery shades. And as you can see, guys, I put a good beating on this palette. For the longest, when I first got it, I was just all over this, like 24/7. This was my favorite palette to use. And it was the first palette, I believe, I ever bought from Urban Decay. And the first time I got to try their eyeshadow formula. And this one has a lot of really iconic shades that are staples in Urban Decay's line, like Skimp and Rockstar, Gunmetal, Mushroom, beautiful shade, Height. This shade right here, Money. Why was this never a single? It's like a minty, greenish, bluish shade with like these silver specks of glitter. It's so gorgeous. I don't think Urban Decay still has single eyeshadows. I'm not sure. They probably do. But if they do, they're probably in those little bulky, ugly packaging. And they've discontinued a lot of these awesome colors. Some of these shades I know in particular were unique to this palette, like Money, but this was such a unique shade. I know not everybody at the time when this came out really enjoyed this because of the lack of mattes, but if you needed a good supplemental palette, this was it. And I believe I got this shortly after I got the Too Faced Naked Eye, and this was such a great companion to have along with it. Let me show you. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to Too Faced not having these staple palettes anymore, because these two right here, I have a ton of different looks. I don't even need anything else. So again, back to the Mariposa palette, however, this is wonderful and I miss these colors. I wish Urban Decay would bring this palette back in particular, make the pans a little bit bigger and really zhuzh it up. If they could bring this palette back with the Honey palette formula, I would be a happy camper. And these are the first two like really old palettes, and I'm talking about this one and the Too Faced one that I've mentioned. I don't use these palettes. Some of these palettes I've kept for some sentimental reasons, and this is one of them. Like I said, it was my first Urban Decay palette, and it's in a small shoebox with a couple other makeup palettes and items that I've kept because I feel very nostalgic towards, and I kind of can't let them go for one reason or another. So this is one of them, and again, wonderful palette. Urban Decay needs to bring it back because when it was around, it didn't get enough love, and it needs to return. I miss this palette. I wish I could use it. These shades don't perform good at all anymore, but it's nice to have the memory. Okay, next we have another Too Faced palette that I felt at the time was a staple in their line, and they've brought some of their old palettes back, which kind of reminded me of this when I was just browsing through, I think, Ulta or Sephora, just looking around to see what's going on out there. And I went through Too Faced page and I was just looking at their palettes and I was like, this is not what I remember from back in the day. These are not the good, cohesive, essential palettes that everybody needs in their kit. These are just like fly by night, get it out of here, we don't care about her tomorrow type of palettes. This one though, we care about her. And this is the Too Faced Naked Eye Soft and Sexy Eyeshadow Collection. These shades are gorgeous. And as you can see, I've hit pan in quite a few colors in here, but they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shades. You can get very nice everyday looks, very nice smoky looks right here. These three colors, I've gotten such beautiful, beautiful smoky eyes. This shade Like a Virgin, I bought so many cool toned neutral palettes just so I could find something that's a dupe for that shade because it's just the most beautiful, light, grayish, brownish taupe. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And that was for sure one of my favorite colors. This one and the shade Lap Dance right here, which I don't know how well the camera is going to show this, but it's like a silvery, purpley taupe color. It's just so pretty. I've gotten so many amazing looks with this palette, and it was really sad for me the day that I realized that this wasn't working as well as it was anymore, and how old it was, and the fact that I had to put it to the side, take it out of my makeup collection, and again, it's in my little makeup memento shoebox, and it's there for a good reason. This is a very cohesive palette. Again, another palette that I feel like would be essential in Too Faced's palette or line or just arsenal overall if they had something like this. And the fact that they brought like the natural mattes or something and some of those like older palettes back, they need to hop on and bring this one back and the one I mentioned previously because these are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful palettes. This is back when Too Faced used to make my favorite eyeshadow formula. So that is a very, very, very long time ago. And I look at these palettes fondly, and sometimes I think about them and I wish I could pull them out, but I can't. So I have to kind of look for the next best thing, I should say, in my collection. So it definitely needs to make a comeback, like ASAP. So the next palette that I'm going to talk about, I actually don't have here with me in person, but if you've been a long-time subscriber here on my channel, you've probably seen me use it like a good handful of times. And if you know me just in general from back in the day, or might have stumbled onto some of my older makeup videos that are not even on this channel, you would have seen me use this palette, and that is the Shani 120 Bold and Bright eyeshadow palettes. Do any of you remember the days when we used to have the 120 color eyeshadow palettes from like BH Cosmetics, Coastal Scents, brands like Shani? That was like the cool thing back then. I'm sure a lot of you maybe remember, if you don't remember the 120 palettes, you remember the Coastal Scents 88 color palettes. Those are, I feel like, pretty iconic. So nowadays when brands come out with like the most colors ever or anything, like I'm not impressed. It's not 120 colors, so bye sis, like next. We're not having that. But anyway, this palette right here, as you can see, I'm gonna insert probably some clips or some pictures, is absolutely wonderful. And this is one of the few palettes, or actually the only one that I have on today's list, that is still available. The only problem is that they changed the arrangement of colors and also the intensity and the pigmentation and the formula. So they changed quite a few things. It's not the same palette to me anymore. I feel like they did a much better job with the packaging in the sense that it's not that hard plastic anymore, it's cardboard. So it's easier to recycle and get rid of once you run out of the colors. But the formula is so different. This used to be a palette that had so much pigmentation and color payoff and was amazing up to the last video, which I'm probably gonna insert somewhere right here, a clip of, that I was actually using this palette. The formulation was still amazing, and the only reason why I actually even decided to throw it out completely was because it was at that point around 8 years old, but it was still performing absolutely wonderfully. I just didn't feel comfortable using that on my eyes anymore. So I repurchased it because, okay, it's still available. They probably kept up that same great formula or improved it. I was so excited, and I received it in the mail. And the formula, the texture, the pigmentation, the consistency was not the same at all. Like at all. It was terrible. It wasn't that terrible, but compared to what I was used to from the original palette, it was. So I passed that on to a friend, and I really wish Shani would bring back this palette with the same original formula, but maybe make it even more pigmented and in your face, because it's a great palette. And for the longest time, it was one of the only palettes that I owned, and I used and abused it to death. And there was a good reason for that. So I really wish they would reformulate, bring back that same color arrangement, maybe take out some of those extra blues that they like to throw in there for no reason, and those extra greens, put in a couple more shades of red and a couple more shimmers, and we'll be good, Shani, but just bring it back, but make it better. So next we have a palette that was discontinued a couple of months ago, and I still don't understand why, nor do I have any answers to why, because it's one of the best palettes out there. And that's the Alien palette by Jeffree Star Cosmetics. What were you thinking, Jeffree? If you're somehow watching this someday, like 50 years from now, when you have nothing better to do, why would you do this? Well, hopefully in 50 years you would bring it back. But why would you discontinue this? This is such a great palette. The formula in here is on point. If you're not familiar with the color scheme, let me show you, because girl, you're gonna be living your best grungy life. I still don't understand why this palette was discontinued so fast. I feel like it was around for about a year and then it was let go. And Jeffree, if you're not gonna bring the full palette back, can we get the Alien Collection singles? Like, I just wanna have the ability to repurchase Abduction when I run out of it, or UFO, or Tall Gray, Black Hole. This black is amazing. Alien, forget about it. This color is off the chain. Pluto, all these colors are so good. I still don't know why this was discontinued. If anybody knows why, put it down in the comments below because I have no idea. This is the perfect smoky, grungy palette. It's so lovely. Area 51, the only color that I kind of feel iffy about is that one. Only because it's so pigmented that it's almost a little bit hard to blend. So that's my only criticism. Everything else is great. And even the criticism for that color is not bad. It's stupid pigmented. So I have no idea why this was gotten rid of. You can get some really nice neutral looks if you actually look at the palette. Like Phone Home is probably one of my favorite shades in this palette. Is this beautiful mauve-y shade right here. So gorgeous. Some days I just used to do Titan, Phone Home, and pop a little bit of either UFO or Pluto, and you're out the door. It just makes me really upset because for a lot of people, this was a palette that they eventually wanted to get. And the fact that after the last set of mystery boxes, he just like, all right, let's get rid of this iconic palette. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because of the packaging. I know a lot of people complained about this packaging. Personally, I've never had an issue with it like sliding off. Let me show you. See, it's not sliding off. It's not moving. I can't even do that sliding thing that some people were doing on their channels. But this, the magnet on it, at least on mine, great. I've never had any issues with the packaging. Yes, it's a little bit large and bulky. Even more so than the people who are complaining about the, like, girl. You thought the pineapple? No. Honey, the alien, it's huge. It is. So if that was your problem, I'm sorry. So hopefully Jeffree Star at least brings it back in the capacity of just having it available as a single eyeshadow collection, because I feel like, again, the color story, this is gonna fly off the shelves. It's gorgeous, just gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I love every single shade in here. And again, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Because if I ever run out of this, like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Jeffree Star, you really need to think about singles, hun. Single eyeshadows. Next phase of JSC, come on. You got, humor me here. Humor the rest of the world that didn't get to try this, or maybe wanted to try one shade. See, I can't even turn away from this palette because it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It makes me sad that other people can't enjoy this amazingness. So, bring it back. Just bring it back. Please bring it back. Okay, now to step away from my meltdown, let's move on to the next palette, and that is the Urban Decay Smoked Palette. So out of all of the really, really old palettes that I'm showing you today, this is the only one that I still use and that still has pigmentation and works. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous smoky palette, and it still works so well to this day. This green right here, it's so smoky and dark and so multi-dimensional. I absolutely love it. It's a very, very dark forest green base with like a dark green shimmer. It's just so stunning. This blue right here, Rockstar, is an iconic color. You can get so many wonderful smoky and also neutral looks if you just use basically Kinky Freestyle Bar Lust, and I would say Backdoor. You can get some really nice everyday looks. Very well thought out shades, and this is the only eyeshadow palette that I can think of in the history of me owning makeup that has a full guide that's, I want to say, a good 10 to 12 pages maybe. I still have it laying around somewhere in some old box, but it has step-by-step eyeshadow tutorials with actual looks that are not going to look crazy or stupid, and also make sense, and also have great direction on how to blend the colors. So the fact that this palette was so well thought out to that fine last detail is great. And in here, instead of having a brush, they had one of their 24/7 eyeliners, which was a really great idea. I think it was the one in Perversion, which you need a good black eyeliner if you're going to do a smoky look. So everything about this palette is fantastic. This packaging is so fun and cool. The way it zips up like a little makeup bag. It's great, and I really wish Urban Decay would bring this back and let people enjoy this color scheme. It's so beautiful, and I feel like a theme that now that I'm talking about these palettes that I'm noticing is that there's not enough cool eyeshadow palettes anymore. I really want cool and straight up neutral eyeshadow palettes to make a comeback, because right now we're just swimming in pinks, reds, and oranges, and as much as I love those, we need something to stand out and be different and switch it up. So this will be a great way for them to do that. And yeah, if they were to come out with another one, I would certainly buy it and do a comparison video, but right now we don't know, because we don't even know what's gonna happen tomorrow. We got a very rambly today, but these palettes just make me so excited, and just the thought of them possibly coming back someday makes me even more excited. Just like I get excited about this one. This is the Rockstar Balm Jovi palette by the Balm Cosmetics. This palette is so great. First of all, super thin, real easy, smaller than your average notebook, and nice size mirror. You can see your full face in here. Not only that, you have a blush, you have a highlight, and you have 3 rows of colors. You have your shimmers, you have an all matte row right here, and then you have some other like more neutral shades, a real nice dark blue with some shimmer. It's a really awesome palette, and this is not available anymore. I'm not I'm not exactly sure when the Balm discontinued this palette, but it makes me very sad because I was planning on repurchasing it. And oh, I forgot to talk about the lip colors, but they're not in here because I actually ran out of them. And I took them out because I didn't want the empty pans to just be lingering. But these were lip and cheek colors. You had a red one right here and a nude one. And the fact that this little thing was right here really helped, because I would never have any eyeshadow or highlighter or blush in my lip and cheek products. So this was a really good way for them to separate the cream products and also still allow them to exist in this palette. And the color story is really lovely. You have some nice smoky colors, you have a gold, you have a nice silvery white, you have these great blendable neutrals right here. My only criticism with this palette would be that the shade Blink 1982 and Third Eye Blinded were a little mediocre. For me, for example, Third Eye Blinded was exactly like one of the shades in the original Nude Tude palette. And when I got this one, I was like, I already have the other one, so why do I want an almost exact shade? They were very, very similar. I'll insert a picture of that color right here. So as you can see from the picture and this, they're extremely, extremely similar shades. So I would take this shade out, replace it with something more fun. In Blink 1982, I love the name. All of these have names or puns of like musical pop culture and bands and artists. It's a really, really cute idea. Just like the name Bon Jovi after Bon Jovi, but they put their name. It's cute, it's gimmicky. But this was a really nice quality palette, very fun to use. The fact that the face products even were thought about so well, in the sense of that you had the separation between the other products that they added on, but also a deeper highlighter than usual. This is, I want to say, about 2 to 3 shades deeper than Mary Luminizer if you've ever owned or swatched that highlighter, which is really nice because it makes this palette more usable to anybody with a deeper skin tone than just like light to medium. So I really enjoyed that. And if they were to come out with another palette, I would appreciate for them, instead of doing the cream products, which a lot of people don't like to have in with powder products, even if there is a little secret door right here, I would prefer for them to have 2 blushes and 2 highlighters, take out Third Eye Blinded and Blink 1982, this shade right here. Take these 2 shades out and replace them with 2 other more fun shades. I feel like overall it would bring the palette in a much better direction, and I feel like a lot of people that were around the time this palette came out will be really excited to own a newer, better, more updated version of it. So I will be really, really looking forward for them to do it at some point in time. but we don't know if they will. But it's a great idea, and I would love to throw out the vibe in there for them to think about doing it. Maybe. The bomb, are you watching this? Can you bring this back, please? But like, make it better. Make it better. We can do it. And it would get people interested in the brand a little bit more. Hmm? Yeah? Eh? I'm going a little crazy with the excitement over these palettes. I think I just have a lot of really great memories using each and every one of these, especially the ones that I just can't use anymore because they're so old. So having all those thoughts run through my mind is driving me a little nuts, but in a good way. Now, last but not least, we have a palette that I love so, so much. And out of all the palettes that I mentioned today, is the one that hurts me the most that it's not available, because it was just that good. And that is, drumroll please, the Anastasia Artist Palette. This is the palette out of all the ones that I mentioned today that I am butthurt the most about that it doesn't exist anymore. So, and that is why, I can't talk, come on, pull it together. Pull it together, okay. And out of all the palettes today, this is the one that I wish for the most to be brought back. And you're probably thinking, Gigi, why? Anastasia came out with like 6 million palettes last year. They came out with a bunch of colorful ones. Why this one in particular? Because I recently had to depot it. This is a really old palette. I got this back in 2015 at some point. And a lot of the colors that are from this palette still work really, really well. So I depotted all of them basically, besides these 3 colors right here, which just don't work at all anymore. I'm gonna insert a picture right here of the original palette, the original colors, so you guys can get a really good idea of what this palette was about. And I love the idea and the color story. It was thought out of so well. You have some really nice colorful shades that you could mix together. You have some nice neutrals that you could get a nice everyday look or something a little bit more smoky. And at the time, Anastasia didn't have anything like this. So the fact that they thought of this up at a time where it was just about like naked and smoky palettes pretty much. I think the Urban Decay Naked Smoky had just come out, and all the other palettes on the market were neutral, boring. I think the first Tartelette palette had just come out. There was nothing quite like this. So, and for Anastasia, for them to come out with something so rather colorful was really unexpected. And this was something I believe I received for my birthday, and I still love this palette so much. The color Fresh in here, that yellow that you see, it's still rockin'. It's such a good yellow color. I used it recently. Like I said, I depotted the rest of the shades that were not still in here. That's why this looks so janky. But it's so good. It's so good, and I really miss it. And out of all the sea of palettes upon palettes upon palettes that Anastasia has come out with in the last year and a half, if they were to re-release this again, this would get so much love. I don't remember this being that talked about at the time, but from people that have used this palette, from reviews that I've seen online, this was a very, very much a beloved palette. Just like it is for me, it was for others, and I would really, really love for Anastasia to bring this back, because it would be something, again, iconic and essential to their line. If they were to remove half of the palettes they have with now and keep like Modern Renaissance and Soft Glam and this one and maybe like 2 more, they would be set. They wouldn't need all these extra other colorful, crazy, unnecessary palettes. A good few hard-working palettes. And this would be, I was holding it the wrong way, and this would be at the top of that list. So definitely I do miss this palette, and I'm so happy that a good amount of the shades from here are still usable and I can still use them on myself to this day. So it just have a lot of good memories about this palette. And if you've used this palette before, put it in the comments down below. I would love to know. I used to do a lot of kind of these looks. I know there was a shade in here that I still am hanging on to, Unicorn. I used to mix that with the yellow in there, Fresh. Oh, so many amazing looks that I've gotten with that palette. I can't rave about this enough. They need to bring it back. It's iconic. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. All right, guys, so those are my 10 palettes that I wish brands would bring back for good. Let me know, what are your palettes, top 5, top 10, or however many you could think of at the top of your head. Put them in the comments down below. What palettes do you want to be brought back permanently and why? What palettes do you miss? What palettes do you love? What palettes did you first use and were amazed by, but they're just not available anymore, so you can't repurchase them? Let me know all that below. I would love to start a conversation and talk to you guys and reminisce about what we had a couple of years ago, because back in the day we had palettes that would hang around for a good few years and make the rounds and become beloved and used up, and you would see so many tutorials and get so many ideas of different ways to use, and now it's like, okay, what's the next palette? We got a new one tomorrow. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And it's not about, let's have a nice cohesive palette that we can create a ton of looks out of. So I would really love to know how you guys feel about that, because this video was inspired not only by me recently depotting this palette, but also just by our current makeup climate and the fact that so many palettes nowadays I feel like are absolutely disposable. And to me, all the palettes that I mentioned in today's video are anything but, and the fact that they're not around really makes me sad, because they are amazing, they are essential, and if they were still around, they would get plenty of love, and more love even than those. By the week, let's move on to the next one, trendy, whatever palettes. So thank you so much for watching. Again, hello to all the new subscribers. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you're staying healthy and safe. I'll see you next time. Bye. What are we doing, big guy? What are we doing, big guy? Boofy, you want to get picked up too? This is what I do all day. These babies right here. Okay, babies, down, 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 down. Reason or another. Oh my God, I messed that up. I messed it up, messed it up. Babies, give me ideas. Tell mommy not to mess up. Tell mommy not to mess up. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, who am I gonna hold? Am I gonna hold both of you? Am I gonna hold both of you? What's up, here? Boofy, you wanna come up here too? You wanna come up here too? Oh my God. Oh my God, we have babies here. We have babies here.